everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unusual Suspects. Guys, we have got a fantastic show for you guys lined up. A lot of topics, a lot of controversial stuff. Some of you guys are going to be pissed off, but guess what? We don't care because the truth doesn't care, and the truth hurts sometimes. I'm going to go around and introduce all of our regular unusuals. We have Rob Gargiulo in the house. Yes, he's wearing his pants.
Hello.
We have Connor in the house. We have Shane. And our newest unusual, he is the founder and CEO. What was the company, Jeremy?
Command Your Brand.
Command. I just want to have a bald eagle on my arm when I hear that. Jeremy Ryan Slate. Jeremy, what's up, brother? Thanks for being here, man. Dude, thank you. So, Jeremy, do me a favor. Look at the camera on the right. Tell everybody just really quick, 30 seconds to a minute, just who you are, what you're about, and yeah.
So my name's Jeremy Slate. I run a PR agency called Command Your Brand, and we focus primarily on podcasts and new media because I think, frankly, in the age we live in, it's the only media that really matters. I've also run a podcast called The Jeremy Ryan Slate Show since 2014. Live in Northwest New Jersey, have 24 chickens, a pig, and my third child on the way soon. So things are getting exciting.
I thought we went chickens, pig, Jersey, and the kids coming.
I used to be a competitive powerlifter too.
Oh, snap, dude. Well, so deadlift.
So deadlift, squat, and bench, and I also pulled a 80,000-pound army tank to raise money for the Wood Aware Project.
Holy crap! What was your biggest weight for deadlift?
So I guess to give you like an idea, I'm 5'7". I was like 192 when I competed. I'm 165 now.
Okay.
Deadlift, I was doing 635 on a single,
snap.
705 on a single for squat, and 455 on bench for a single.
Dude!
Damn.
Oh, you're a freaking... Oh, this guy... You'll rip somebody's arm.
I'm only putting up like 305 now on bench.
Yeah,
So.
holy.
And by the way, no one believes me when I say Jersey has farms. We were just talking about this before the show. So you're in the rural
I grew
part.
up picking beans, hay, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because people just think Jersey. They think, hey.
Well, that's me. Atlantic City, so I was the Jersey Shore, and then and that's not even the people that were on that show, Jersey Shore, were from fucking Staten Island.
That's what. Yeah.
I was actually from New Jersey.
That's what all my uncles say.
New
They're
Jersey's
like,
a beautiful state, except for the policies of the government.
Well, and like where I live, like I think we're all convinced we live in the Midwest. We listen to country music. We work on farms, and it's very interesting.
Yeah. But, dude, thank you for being here, Jeremy. I actually love Jersey. I have a lot of friends and some family in Jersey. But, hey, guys, before we get into the stories, I just want to let you guys all know our Manek competition is almost done. Rob just went into third place. He gets to have dinner with PBD. But, guys, if you haven't downloaded the app, that's the app. Get the QR code. Guys, I gave some guy advice yesterday about drinking, and he's quitting. There's Rob again. Rob, we have to change that photo. I'm going to tell them. Because you're not going to get a Vivek if you Manek Rob. You're just going to get Rob.
He's tall.
Anything about podcasts.
I mean, I'll put brown face on if
Yeah,
that's what
do
you
it,
want.
Rob. There's Shane's Manek right there.
I
Anything with
changed my picture
philosophy,
for Rob, but
writing,
it didn't
name
update.
it. Look at Shane. Looks like a stud. Like he just finished shooting porn right there. Connor's on there. Connor, is that a tree behind you, Connor?
That
in
is a
photo?
tree behind me.
That's a tree, guys. I guess hugging trees now is actually cool because you get the energy and you become positive.
Just grounding with the earth.
Yeah, grounding with the earth. And Kelly, she's not here, but she's getting ready for another meeting. But, guys, that's Kelly's Manek for anything from podcasting, and that's the competition. Guys, it ain't too late. If you want to support somebody, download we might have to get Jeremy on there when we're finished with the podcast. But, all right, guys, we're going to get right into it. So, Jeremy, before we started the podcast, we started talking. You were talking about the Roman Empire and Caesar and how the left is comparing Trump to Caesar. What's your take on that?
So I think number one, they're full of crap, and the reason I say that, and
across the board,
Yeah.
the left is full of crap, but we can all agree to that.
well, they're trying to take advantage of the fact that people don't know and people don't understand, and the thing I think is the major confusion for people about Rome is that it had 3 eras in time. So it's founded in 753 as a kingdom. And so from 753 BC to 509, it's a kingdom. 509 BC to 31 BC is the Roman Republic. And then 31 BC to 476 AD is the empire. So what people don't consider is Caesar was a late Republic character. So they're trying to say, okay, that Trump is ending the American Republic. Now, a lot of people could disagree with me on this, but I think if you want to look at it, the American Republic ended more in like 1913. And the reason I say that is in the progressive era, particularly in 1913, you have the 17th Amendment that passes. So that means that state legislatures no longer vote for the Senate. So the Senate and the House actually do the exact same thing now. They don't serve a purpose. That would have done a lot in the 2020 election because the Senate would have had something to say about what happened, right?
Yep.
You also have income tax, which passes. And then you have the Federal Reserve, which passes. So we have a lot of the same vestiges of a republic, but we don't actually have a functional republic. And that's actually very similar to Woodrow Wilson being more like your first emperor, who's Caesar Augustus, Caesar's adopted son, and then kind of really creating this new thing. So in my opinion, I don't think Trump is Caesar. I think we're more in what's called the crisis of the 3rd century. So about 200 to 300 AD, Rome has major problems, which are the first is 15,000% inflation by 284.
15,000?
15,000 by 284.
We're complaining by what were we at, 9?
Well, we were at 9
Yeah.
when Biden took office, if you believe
Yeah,
what
if you
he
believe
said.
that
But he
prior.
also has dementia.
They also have a massive immigration problem, and they have a central power problem. Those are 3 problems that we're dealing with now. Now, the thing we don't have is we don't have, governors and people raising an army and attacking each other. But
Not
that is
yet,
one,
anyway.
Not yet. But we do have that inflation problem. We do have an immigration problem, and we have a central power problem, right? Our 10th Amendment should fix the central power problem, but the federal government isn't abiding by it. So if you want to look at it, that's where I put us on kind of the Rome map of things.
Got you. So here's my question, Jeremy, and then kind of I want to go to you and Shane. When you hear people saying like the fall of Rome, Jeremy, and like at the height of where they were, I tell Rob this all the time. I go, I feel like we are the people that were in Rome, Jeremy, at the right when it was about to fall, and we're trying to warn people like, hey, listen, all this like we're not doing well. Inflation is crazy. The people, the wars, everything is going wrong right now. Do you feel like we are headed for that type of? Because I mean, we've been a superpower forever. Like, are we due? I hate to even say it. Are we due to fall?
So I think the thing you have to consider when you look at 284, there's an emperor that comes to power named Diocletian. And he does some really good things. He also does some really terrible things. When Rome wasn't doing well, the thing they would do is persecute Christians. So that's one of the things that Diocletian does. It's things other emperors have done when things aren't going well. But the things he does that are positive is he does a big monetary reform. So he starts basically minting new coins. He changes the way the army works, because what happens in the 2nd century is you have what are called the barrack emperors. Emperors realize that their power comes from the military. So a general would raise an army, pay that army a lot of money, attack the city of Rome, and declare themselves emperor. So in the 3rd century, you have 47 different people claim to be emperor. And what happens is they debase the currency in order to keep doing that. That means clipping the pieces off of coins, adding other metals to coins, and that's how inflation becomes a problem. So when you get to like 284, when Diocletian becomes emperor, he mints a new silver coin, which helps to stabilize things. He also takes the military and splits it up. He puts half of it on the border to handle the immigration issues with the barbarians on the borders. And then he brings half of it inside the empire to support the empire and keep from people raising an army and attacking Rome. So if you want to look at how does that work for us, number one, you can't have a country exist without borders, right? It's killing us, and it's also having people, take too much off of the welfare state. And I think that's why I think it's important to understand citizenship in Rome. In 212 AD, Emperor Caracalla does what's called the Edict of Caracalla. He takes 30 million people that are in the Roman provinces and declares them citizens overnight.
Whoa.
So what that meant is they were citizens without the vote. So they couldn't vote for anything, but now they got social programs. And the bigger thing is the emperor could tax them, so he's able to get money.
Sounds like us.
Sounds
Sounds really
Yeah.
familiar.
So
that's really weird.
what happens is you have the welfare state is basically destroying the Roman state as the currency is deflating. That's very similar to what we're dealing with now. So unless we handle immigration, unless we get back to some sort of a standard currency, we're headed right down the same road. Now, those reforms that happened in 284, Rome does last till 476, but if you look at what's happening in America, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, right? So
Yes.
I think, frankly, our timeline is a lot faster, and we do need to move fast and getting back to standard currency.
What are you going to say, Shane?
So do you think that there was ever a way for Rome to reverse course, or do you think civilizations just follow cycles and you can't negotiate with it?
I think it could have reversed course because these reforms are done by Diocletian. After Diocletian, you have Constantine, who's the first emperor to not make Christianity the Roman religion. That doesn't happen until 370 under Theodosius. But he's the first Christian emperor. And he actually continues a lot of these policies of Diocletian, of good monetary policy and things like that. After Constantine, the same policies continue of debasing currency, bad immigration issues. They don't learn a lesson. So I think that the issue is, if they instituted these reforms and they continue to properly reform, you can actually preserve the Republic. Because you look at 476 is when the Western Roman Empire fell. But nobody talks about the Eastern Roman Empire, which we call Byzantium. They wouldn't have called themselves, Greeks or Byzantines or whatever. They would have called themselves Romans. And that lasts until 1453 when the Ottomans invade Constantinople. So the one thing that they had going for it is geographically they're in good shape, and they also had the better tax base. being Egypt and Palestine and a lot of those areas. So I think if with the right reforms, it could have been stabilized and it could have continued. But if you continue in the same path and the same bad management, you're headed in a terrible direction.
What do you think, Connor?
Well, it reminds me, going back a couple months, we did a report that I discussed on this show about how I believe it was Senator Dick Durbin
Yes, it was.
put forward a proposal to conscript illegal immigrants into the military in exchange for citizenship.
Rome did that.
Yeah, and
Rome did.
that was exactly the comparison I made of, like, they recruited barbarian armies when they couldn't get their own people to enlist, and the barbarians eventually just kept raiding them instead of actually going out to fight for them because they had overextended themselves.
Well, and also
they had
too,
this
like one of the
crisis.
issues you have as well is when you look at, so the Roman army had like the standing Roman army, which you don't have in the late Republic, you do have in the early Empire, and they also had something called the Roman auxiliary. So the auxiliary were people that weren't citizens, and if you served for, in the beginning it's 20 years, later on it becomes 30 years, you could gain citizenship for yourself and for your family. So like you actually had to like work and buy in to get the thing, right? And I think especially in 212, the issue you see is when people are getting citizenship and getting this thing and getting all the social programs, but they don't have to buy into the system. That's one of the major things that causes collapse, because as the currency debases, as central power crumbles, well, the barbarians and the tribes like that didn't need the central power anymore. They just decided in 476, you have the barbarian king Odoacer, who had basically was ruling behind the last emperor, Romulus Augustus, and he gives him a place to retire to, gives him some money and says, we're not going to kill you, go relax, and he declares himself king, and that's the empire is over. So eventually when they don't need the empire anymore, that's where you go.
So those guys were basically, it would be like if we just took like Mexico and gave them a bunch of money to fight our wars for us, and then they were like, wait, we have all the power now, why are we listening to these people in DC?
Exactly that.
Why don't we just start a new government?
Exactly.
And real quick, Jeremy, because we didn't get to touch on this.
Yeah.
But because we knew this a little bit from talking to you beforehand, but the audience at home might not know. You're not just like some guy who showed up and decided to start talking about Rome. Like, you actually have a background in studying this, if I'm correct. Like, what do you have studied, or what have you studied in this?
So my undergrad degree is in Catholic theology and Judaism.
Nice, nice.
Then I studied literature at New College, Oxford, and then I got my master's in early Roman Empire propaganda. This is way back in 2011.
Wow.
Nobody cared about what I did when I got out of school, so I ended up doing a whole bunch of different things before I started my company back in 2016. And that whole why do men think about the Roman Empire thing popped up on TikTok, and my wife's like, "You're suddenly relevant, honey." I'm like, "I'm relevant? Thank you. I'm glad you love me."
I'm waiting for that to happen.
She's like, now go get the laundry.
Yeah, so people wanted to suddenly talk about it. And I think it's interesting because the thing I'm finding, and I don't know if you guys have seen this as well, nobody really knows about Rome. And what the information they do know is just propaganda that's used against them. And I think it's actually really useful information so we don't repeat the same mistakes.
So you said you studied their propaganda. What does that look like?
So I looked, my study was mainly around the first century BC, first century AD. So kind of like around that year zero time period. And I looked at, I don't use like BCE and CE, by the way. That's woke history. We don't do that.
That's crazy.
But what I looked at is the propaganda of Augustus, because Augustus is the first emperor. He's the adopted son of Julius Caesar, but he's the first guy to become emperor. So what he does is he actually convinces people he's God and uses tools to do this. There was an article I had read called Augustus at Actium by this Jesuit priest that was written around the early 1900s. And it was weird. After the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, Augustus defeats Mark Antony to become the new guy in power. And he goes to the tomb of Alexander the Great and prays before it. There's also this thing that he might have knocked the nose off of it. We don't know that.
Yeah.
And it was just strange. I'm like, why is this guy that would believe in pagan gods and whatever kneeling in front of this other man? It just seemed really weird to me. So I did a lot of research, and I just realized that Augustus was a very intelligent propagandist. So the number one thing he started with is coinage, because coins are something people use every day. So if they see your face on a coin and they see, let's say, Rome's founder Romulus on the other side, well, they know you're very powerful, right? So coinage is one thing. Another thing is there were statues of him all over the empire, but he was never older than about 30 years old, right? Because if you're going to be, divine in some way, you're never going to age, right? Like though, by 30, he had lost all his hair, most of his teeth, and wasn't doing so hot. But these statues made him look younger, right? Another thing as well is in Rome, it wasn't very normal to early on, this changes in the later empire, to connect yourself to gods. That was more of like an Eastern and Greek practice, and that's what we get through Alexander and his conquest of Babylon. He starts connecting himself to divine people. And one of the things he does after his death, which I think you'll find this interesting, Vinny, is I put up a post the other day about when you look at what's happening with George Floyd.
Yeah.
The divine George Floyd, right?
Yeah,
like after his death, they're using this idea of this
Saint
guy,
George.
no matter what his life was like, to now justify their actions.
Yes.
That's exactly what Julius Caesar Augustus did. He said, my father, Julius Caesar, was divine. So now because of that, that makes me divine, and it justifies my actions. So they still use the same tools today, and I think it's really important to observe that.
Shane is divine too.
Yeah, that's his last
Very
name.
cool.
With an E. We're
I,
like
I,
on,
yeah,
the,
actually
on the
saw.
side.
I saw some dude. I was watching. Funny you bring up George Floyd. I was watching videos, old videos of like what America was going through. Just like white people with the black fists on their
So
face and
dumb.
BLM and crying and
Did you see the photo of the guy wearing a face mask of just a random white guy who didn't know George Floyd crying at his casket, with a mask on and just like this, like
hysterical,
praying.
hysterical.
Is anyone watching? I'm
yeah,
a good person.
hysterical laughing, and it's like, bro, just that air with all the black squares and I mean
in the gold casket, though, like just
gold-
think about that.
yes.
Like the deified George Floyd, now the Biden administration can use that to justify their actions, just like Augustus used that to justify ending a republic, building an empire, and creating a worship cult.
It's crazy to me because there were like about the George Floyd and
Yeah, go ahead.
like the idea that this guy had statues built after him across the country, where like
What do you mean
where-
streets and mural?
Mural.
The murals.
No.
Remember that time the
How
mural
about-
got hit by lightning?
Yeah, the mural did get hit by lightning on camera.
who did more for this country, George Floyd, or Vinny Oshana, who was in the United States Air Force? Like
Statues
why-
of Vinny.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why isn't there? Why don't we have a bench with you sitting on it so young black people can come and look up to you and go,
Yeah.
I could be in the Air Force too? What is that symbolizing and showing the youth of America, specifically the black youth, that you prop up this guy as some type of god
Yeah.
and people
But it's-
worship him when
Our
he was a
hero-making
career
machine.
Vinny
criminal?
successfully got off drugs and alcohol. That's something George Floyd never managed to do.
Yeah, and let's not forget because Rob, we talked about it on a podcast. I want to say a year ago, where the autopsy, but the coroner report came out, and it was, dude, he had more drugs in him than anything else. I'm pretty sure the moment the blood pressure. You know, I said this too.
having
I
a
go,
good time.
if George Floyd wasn't a criminal drug using scumbag, he never would have met Derek Chauvin. Think about that. If he wasn't in that gas station trying to use a counterfeit on drugs, he was on mad drugs and trying to use a counterfeit bill, you never ever would have met. You guys never would have crossed paths. And Rob said that the other day, he goes, you know how many times I've been roughed up by a cop? I'm going to ask you too, Jeremy. Never. I have been.
I got yelled at a lot when I was a kid because I drove fast
of
cars.
course.
But, you know,
But when you're doing that
your
type of
muffler's too loud.
yeah, because and you're right. They made this guy into that.
It's important, and it's less about who he is, and it's less about what he did. Neither of those things matter.
Yeah.
It just matters that we have a new deity, because a deity meaning a god, like that justifies action.
So
Yeah.
what do you think is going on where in Rome they were glorifying this emperor, and now we're glorifying like some dude who was drunk or high at a convenience store? Like, what did Rome have any kind of victim culture like that, or is this some new kind of thing?
So I think the victim culture is new, and I think the thing you have to understand about like emperors is there are really good ones and there are really bad ones. You know, in the late middle 3rd century, there's this one emperor who's like a child emperor named Elagabalus.
Oh yeah,
And
he's
he is-
the transvestite.
The ones that just decided
So they
is
made that up.
trans.
That's not real.
yeah.
That's
not
the
real?
BBC doing woke history. Now the thing that was weird about him is he's
Fake news.
He's the
Well, he cross-dressed.
He's the priest of a cult, a cult that worshipped the Black Rock. They were called the Cult of Elagabal. So he has a wedding
Black Rock?
with his Black Rock that other people attend. He's pulled around by a chariot of prostitutes. He took his hairdresser and put him in charge of the grain supply. And he also would advance men by the size of their member. So not exactly a transvestite, but definitely a weird guy.
It's really funny that they decide, we're going to go through history and pick one Roman emperor to be a part of our weird LGBT group.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that incompetent sexual degenerate seems like a pretty good one. Let's go with him.
But is this true though that he did cross-dress? I just want to.
He did cross-dress, but I think the thing you have to consider is like people do a lot of, not that I did, but people do a lot of weird stuff in college. And he was like 13 to 16, like somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So
He's
like,
also
what
a
do you
Roman
expect?
emperor, so it's like college times 30,000.
Yeah, no, exactly. But he has like all this money and ability, and he's never had to work for something in his life.
So would it be possible? It seems like there is a playbook on how to bring down the civilization, right?
Yes.
You said earlier, history doesn't repeat itself; it rhymes. So if there's a playbook that exists where people can go and study what has brought down previous civilizations, is it that big of a stretch of the imagination to think that people in power today could be utilizing that playbook to bring down our society in real time?
And there's two different ways I look at that. Like, I think there's always been evil people, and they seem to come back throughout time. You know, whether it's the Medicis or whether it's the Cesare Borgias or people like that throughout history, like they do continue to exist. I don't know how much of our reality is actually controlled that way. There's part of me that wants to say yes, and part of me that wants to say no.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look historically, a central power is always trying to centralize. And why do these same terrible people always end up in power and then try to centralize their power? So I think it's less of the same people doing it and more of when incompetence rises to a certain level, it tries to protect itself.
So it's a pattern.
It's a pattern more than like the same people doing it, if that makes sense.
But it's a pattern that the system is built to continue to allow those people, like you said, the incompetent people
Correct.
that rise to the top.
It's the Peter principle.
To keep that power until the civilization crumbles.
It's the Peter principle. People advance to one level above what they're actually qualified to do.
So since we're on, America and the future and what's happening, so everything that's happening right now with Trump and the weaponization of the Department of Justice, and I mean this goes back. I'm talking about Jeremy. Let's go back 2016. Just from the Obama spying, Trump, fake Russia collusion, James Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Hillary getting a slap on the wrist with the DNC to the impeachments to right now, which is unbelievable lawfare where you're seeing it live. Jeremy, what are your thoughts? Is anything going to change? Do you think Trump is going to win? What's your whole take on all that?
Well, I could be totally wrong a week from now, but I think they're dumb enough to try and convict him and put him in jail from this.
Okay.
I think that's really the direction they're going. Now, I was talking to Raheem Kassam about this from National Pulse not long ago. Could you imagine how much Trump would love to be Nelson Mandela?
Big time.
He would love to be Nelson Mandela. So at the same time, like, if they do that, if they're dumb enough to do it, there's no way he loses. So I think at the same time, I just think they're too stupid to understand the direction they're pushing the country.
Do you think they're too stupid, Jeremy? Or because I always say, like, with Biden, like, everybody looks at him and goes, what a stupid, sleeping, mumbling, creepy, sniffing. If you're a left-wing person, he's doing exactly what you wanted him to do. He's going through all the border, everything that they want. I mean, obviously, this whole campus stuff is kind of blowing up in their faces. But I mean, if you think about it, his report card for them, he's doing everything that they wanted. Stopping the drilling, stopping this, opening the border.
The most progressive president in U.S. history, according to some accounts. I mean, his cabinet is very competent at their agenda. He is not. But also,
he doesn't know where he is.
I don't think
exactly.
like Connor and I have talked about this too, where he may be a belligerent, bumbling fool when it comes to just like daily interaction, but he has been in the government for an extremely long time, and he knows what he's doing, and he's fully in support of all of this. Like, I think Connor said it best. He was like, Joe Biden's not just an incompetent guy; he's an incompetent, evil guy.
Yeah,
incompetent, corrupt guy.
There's this understanding that people have, and it's an incorrect understanding, that Biden is, he's a well-meaning old guy who, like, his memory's going, and that's why he's incompetent. No, this is a guy who has schemed and plotted and enriched himself through politics off the back of the American taxpayer for his entire life.
He's just old now.
He has never meaningfully contributed to anything. He has schemed and stolen everything he could get his hand on for the benefit of his entire family as well.
And he's shown himself to be a liar throughout his career. Even when his wife passed, they blamed it on a DWI, and that it's been shown that might not even be true. Or you look at the speech in, I think it was 1988 when he was running for president. It was stolen from like a Labor Party leader in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's like,
but now that he's old, and all that is falling apart. Like, when he has his lucid moments, he's just back to being evil. So it's not like he defaults back to being a nice, well-meaning guy. Yeah. He defaults to being selfish and conniving.
Yeah, I don't believe. Yeah, great point, Connor, because I do not believe that just because you can't remember the evil shit and the person that you are because you're lost in there, to hell with that. I think I am pro 100% accountability across the board. All of us, we all get in trouble. If you break the law, Jeremy, if Shane, Connor, all of us, we mess up, Rob, you're going to pay the piper. Okay, plain and simple. There's no dodging the raindrops. You get in trouble. I can give two shits. This guy has been corrupt. He's been actually racist on camera, on audio, multiple times.
That's how we treated Clarence Thomas.
Oh, one of the most disgusting things. It's funny you say that. I watched that 2 days ago, and just the taking a black man just because you don't want him taking that seat and just bringing that girl and doing all that shit. That was one of the most disgusting moments. And I love how Clarence Thomas was like, "This is complete horse shit." What you guys
high-tech lynching. So, Jeremy, who are in your mind, like, who are the top 5 worst Roman emperors, and is Biden as bad as them? Or maybe just one. Who's the worst?
So the worst, Elagabalus is pretty bad.
Okay.
Commodus is terrible because Commodus, the son of Marcus Aurelius, wants to be a gladiator more than he wants to be an emperor, but he's kind of a wimp.
That was from the movie from Gladiator, which Joaquin Phoenix played it perfect. He was trying to bang the sister because he wanted the bloodline, right?
Yeah.
Was that factual?
That I don't.
That we don't know.
They
But I
took
mean,
some
They
liberty
made
there.
up pretty much everything because that's not how Marcus Aurelius died.
Yeah.
But still a great movie.
And Marcus Aurelius, it's funny because he gets so much credit throughout history as being like, this stoic and this, really great philosopher.
Yeah.
But he actually breaks what's called the 5 good emperors. Before that, they wouldn't name their son or their descendant. They'd basically adopt the next closest qualified person and say, you're going to be emperor.
Oh, wow.
So it starts with Nerva in, I think it's like 96 or 98, and it goes through Aurelius in 180. But then Aurelius is like, I got this really dumb, spoiled kid. His name's Commodus, and he's your new emperor. And his actions, he dies in 192, and in 192, it's what's called the year of the 5 emperors, because it's just turnover. It creates this power vacuum. And if you had to look at the reason, it takes a long time, but even Edward Gibbon, who wrote The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, talks about this. Commodus is the guy that actually starts the decline of Rome in 192. So if you want to look at that, Commodus is bad, Elagabalus is pretty bad, and there's definitely others.
And by the way, and thank you, Jeremy, because now for our viewers, so I bet you guys had no idea you were about to get schooled on Rome. On Rome. All right, guys, moving on. About 2 weeks ago, we were traveling. We went to go. Pat did a podcast with Tucker Carlson, and somebody at the house, somebody was like, "Hey, Vinny, did you ever hear about the USS Liberty?" And I heard about it when I was younger, but I never took like a really good dive into it. So just for the viewers that don't know what the U.S. Liberty, I call it the day that Israel attacked America. On June 8th, 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israeli aircraft and torpedo boats attacked American Navy intelligence ship, the USS Liberty. The attack resulted in the deaths of 34 crew members and injuring over 171 soldiers. Despite claims of Israel that the attack was a case of mistaken identity, which is the case a lot, evidence and testimonies of the survivors later suggested that Israel forces knew the USS Liberty was an American ship. The incident led to a cover-up by both the U.S. and Israeli governments, with multiple investigations and reports failing to fully address the true nature of the attack. Did you ever hear about?
This is the first time.
This is perfect. So the USS Liberty was a spy ship. It was in the Mediterranean off the Egyptian coast. It was there to monitor the conflict. And then there was an unprovoked attack. Israeli jets and torpedo boats fired rockets, cannons, armor-piercing bullets. Bro, they even dropped napalm on this ship, and they even shot at life rafts, which is a really big no-no when it comes to war, okay? And by the way, we're Israel's closest allies. The American flag on the ship, and this is by the way, this is everything I'm saying is by accounts of the actual crew that were on the boat. So let's get that right. American soldiers were all saying this. The flag was high. It was seen for miles. The words USS Liberty are painted on the side of the bow.
In English, by the way.
English. And mind you, there's no other boats that look like our boats because we're off the Egyptian coast. It's our boat. Let's not play this game. And I love, I like, but Ben Shapiro's like, it's been 50 years and scholars have been, shut the hell up, bro. Just shut up. Okay, because these are just facts. Here's a recording of which, by the way, only came out on this documentary. It's called The Day Israel Attacked America. It's a documentary on YouTube. I think everybody should go watch it and let me know what you guys think. Here's a recording of the Israeli military in real time during the assault. Can you play the clip?
This audio tape, which has never been broadcast before, was recorded in real time by the Israeli military during the assault. The woman's voice in the background is counting down the seconds. It proves that Israeli commanders knew all along that they were attacking an American ship.
American. Boom. Okay, so they know. By the way, that's
Wow.
this is factual audio from the thing. That's them. They know that it's us. Okay, so now there was tensions between Israel and the Arab neighbors. I mean, obviously, bro, they're surrounded by Arab neighbors. Okay, armies were mobilizing in the 60s. So Israel promised the White House. Okay, this is what they're all saying, that this is Iran, that they would not attack first for the 6-day war situation. Okay, but they jammed radar sets at the American embassy in Tel Aviv, so we couldn't detect their jets taking off to launch a surprise attack to Egypt. Meanwhile, the USS Liberty is getting closer to the Mediterranean. They're in the Mediterranean, but they're getting closer to the war zone. And by the way, this is all happening during the Cold War. So Lyndon B. Johnson, we're over there because Egypt and Russia have a really good relationship. So we're there to monitor what the hell, they're up to, because they had influence.
Important note there. We're there to monitor.
Yes,
This isn't the 6-day war and the Cold War going on.
Yes.
We are not involved. We're not deploying troops.
Nope.
We just have a ship there monitoring the situation. That's
threatening them in
yeah.
I love that you said that. By the way, this is a spy ship that they know. By the way, again, 100% right. We're not there to attack. There was limited firing cannons on this ship. They're not stupid, bro. Okay, Israel's not stupid. So they were there to intercept. So the night before the attack, Israel was listening to the chatter. They're monitoring, bro. We're allies. They know who the hell who we are, right? And then at 5:15, the USS Liberty reported an Israeli photo recon plane flying over the ship. Israeli records reported that the reconnaissance plane reported that the Liberty as an American spy ship. Okay, it's a spy ship, but it's ours. So their planes kept doing flyovers and even waved the American Americans they're all waving at these guys, bro. And here's another clip I'm going to show Rob of the Israeli pilots asking about the ship before the attack. Play it.
At 1:53 p.m., the pilots asked their base control about the ship.
What do you say? Yep, no comment. But change the subject. So guys, now let's go to the day of the attack. The crew said it was a beautiful day, and like I said, this is all in the documentary. They were outside on the deck sunbathing, okay? And then the attack happened. They tried to request for help, but by the way, I mean, body parts, if you guys see this documentary, it's freaking brutal what they said that they had to deal with. Just armor-piercing shit. They're shooting at the rafts. Like I said, the soldiers on the boat tried to request help, but Israel jammed their distress frequencies and their tactical frequencies, which, by the way, jamming international distress frequencies is a violation of international law. Okay, if they're trying to communicate with war, different story. But when you're asking for help, what are you
AKA, they wanted them to die.
They wanted no witnesses.
I mean, shooting at life rafts is also, I believe, a violation of international law.
It's 100% it was. But and by the way, who would know their frequencies except an ally? How
Right.
do you know the frequency?
Especially
you know what
back
I mean?
then.
Yeah. So this next video, and then I want to start. I'm going to just wrap up because I have a lot because I want people to get some context. This next video is the military figuring out who would sink the ship after their airplanes did the damage and was running out of ammo. Go ahead.
Up above, the Israeli military argued about what should happen next and who should sink the Liberty.
Leave something for the Navy to do because they have torpedo ships.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
At 11 minutes past 2, with the Israeli jets running out of ammunition, the pilots were instructed to fly down and confirm the identity of the ship. It was now 12 minutes past 2, and the Israeli control tower knew for certain this was an American ship, the same one its forces had first identified at 5:15 a.m. that morning, and then buzzed again during 7 additional reconnaissance flights throughout the day.
Who's it belong to? America. Oh, guys, so there's no question, okay? You guys are hearing this real-time audio. They knew they attacked, okay, the torpedo. By the way, and I guess one of the biggest explosion, they shot 5 torpedoes, and it hit one of them hit. I'm sorry, 2 of them hit, and that was a major killing. 24, I think 25 soldiers died on that hit. So mind you, now this is happening. One soldier grabs like wires because everything is ruined, puts together this little makeshift thing and calls for help. At that moment, the 6th Fleet now is dispatched. It's 500 miles away. Once they're dispatched, the attack stops. Okay, Israel knew that our jets were up in the air, and they were like, whoa, this is a mistake. We messed up. This is a mistake. Okay,
Tragic mistake.
tragic mistake.
It was a mishap.
Oh, yeah, I
Oops.
love mishaps. Yeah, I love
Incidents.
mishaps. So then, guys, check this out. The damage has been done, Jeremy. A helicopter flies over and drops a bag on the ship that was weighed down by an orange, and there was like a business card on it, and it said, "Are there any casualties?" And the guy that's in this documentary is literally crying as he's trying to hold it together, and he's like, "I ran up and gave it to the captain. The captain read it, and as the plane is coming over, he flipped this Israeli thing." Flipped on the bird. So guys, after the aftermath, the NSA went to the spouses of the dead, and they're like, "Don't speak to the media." Because, bro, this is bad because this entire situation, it was rough on Lyndon B. Johnson, who to date was the most pro-Israel president in our history, right?
Also warmonger, start Vietnam.
Warmonger,
Fucker.
Vietnam,
Yeah.
JFK, his involvement with that. We could get into that later. But so I don't know. This is kind of weird though, Connor. He briefed Newsweek. Okay, kind of like secretly off the record saying that Israel attacked the ship because they thought they were intercepting Egypt as well as Israel's communications. The Israeli embassy found out with other Jewish organizations, and they're like, bro, this is a huge problem. And there's declassified Israeli documents revealing that they threatened Lyndon B. Johnson with blood, libel, gross anti-Semitism. Think about that. They're like, hey, if you point out that we attacked for this reason, we're going to call you, drum roll, anti-Semitic. Oh, wow. And that would end his career.
Which it seems like it might have, because he didn't run again.
How the hell did they have that power back then? Like now, it's like Israel's been around for so long. They were like what, 10 years old or 20 years old, maybe.
What do you think, Jeremy?
15
So,
years old?
here's my question. My question is, if you look at conflicts the U.S. has been in the last 100 years, let's say.
Yeah.
Gulf of Tonkin pulls us into Vietnam.
Yep.
You look at in World War II, I read this really interesting book. It's called Roosevelt's Secret War, and it's basically about how he was starting intelligence and he was starting to understand what other countries are doing. So it's thought that he knew about Pearl Harbor before it happened, and he let it happen.
Yeah.
So this event happens. What was this supposed to pull us into a war? Is that why they kept it quiet? That would be my question.
I think they were trying to scare us or make us know that they're the top dog.
Yeah. Well, but think about the brash that you have to have
To say
be an
that-
ally to somebody to try to sink a ship because you don't want them to know what you're about to do, and then having the power back in Washington to shut it all up because the president is in your back pocket. That's the crazy thing, Jeremy.
Also, I know you have a lot more, Vinny, but I just want to say
please
real quick,
go.
the Maxwell, the Ghislaine Maxwell and how her father, Robert Maxwell, was a spy for the Israeli, for Mossad.
Yes.
Like, you have to wonder, where did the balls come from for a small country like Israel to attack a U.S. ship and say, you're not going to tell anyone about it?
Yeah.
America's this gigantic empire that just came out of World War II on top, totally owns the seas, and they're being told by this tiny little country, you can't say anything about it. So what made that little country think that they have power over them? And then when you hear things like the Robert Maxwell stuff and Ghislaine Maxwell and how they had all these spy networks, it's like the reason why Israel projects all this power is because of a much more vast power structure than is obvious from geography.
1,000%.
And like Shane said, it's a tiny little country that, at least ostensibly, is only allowed to exist because of outside support.
For 100%.
Like, anytime America threatens to withdraw support, we get nothing but crying and wringing of hands of, oh, if you don't give us more missiles, we're gonna cease to exist.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we continue giving them money and giving them military aid, they flex on us and like, yeah, that's right. You do what we tell you. Vinny, you've played that video before of Netanyahu talking about, oh, we can basically steer the Americans wherever we want.
However we want.
We can do whatever. American foreign policy towards Israel is perfectly summed up by Nikki Haley on the presidential debate stage a few months ago, where she said, Israel doesn't need America. America needs Israel.
Yeah.
What exactly does Israel do for us? No one's ever been able to explain that to me.
Oh, it's our aircraft carrier in the Middle East. It's our base in the Middle East.
There are base
Why
of
do we need
operations.
that?
They're
Why do we
a
need
sacred
that?
ally in the Middle East. They're the only democracy.
But it's the same
Who
reason.
cares?
It's the same reason the British put them there, right? It's petroleum. It's oil.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
but we
everybody
have-
wants access to oil.
Yeah, but we have a lot of oil here that we can't touch because of environmentalists telling us.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if
I don't want to say what kind of environmentalists they
like
were.
if we were really free to do whatever we want as a country, we would probably start here, hitting oil here, and then plus we have tons of natural gas here as well, or getting oil from South America, from Canada. Like, I'm just saying, I feel like there's more to it than just that. I don't know what it is, but I just think that there's more to this whole thing than just
There's something.
just
There's something
oil.
deeper. Rob, what are you gonna say?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the military angle because all I've ever seen when I see like maps of U.S. military bases is that we have a shit ton of them everywhere. So for us to go, well, we need Israel to be
Right.
our ally in the Middle East as a base. Well, don't we have like bases in Kuwait and all over
like
the Middle
Saudi
East?
Arabia and whatever else.
Yeah. So like it goes back to that. So why does
Why?
America need?
Yeah, it really doesn't
I mean,
make
Vivek
sense.
Ramaswamy dared to ask these questions, and he was like, if I become president, we're going to renegotiate our strategic partnership with Israel so that it is actually a partnership rather than us just giving them money and weapons. And everyone then, of course, trotted out, oh, well, Vivek Ramaswamy is anti-Semitic.
Well, but that's what they do with every conversation. We talked about this yesterday. Every time you go against a narrative, in order to shut down that narrative, they just place a label on you. Okay, you're criticizing Israel? Anti-Semitic. You don't want drag queens reading stories to children? You're transphobic. You don't think that burning down Walgreens while protesting police brutality is effective and helping? Oh, you're racist. And then they just shut that narrative down so you don't have to converse anymore. Nobody hears you. They'll demonetize you. They'll deplatform
course.
you. They brand you as alt-right or QAnon.
So that's a lot of power, Rob. That's a lot of power to do whatever you want and kill 34 soldiers. Whoa, that's what bothers me. I'm a veteran, bro. My brother's a veteran. My sister just retired. I have friends that feel like what happens to those soldiers, and it's driving me crazy because after that happened, and I have 1 minute to wrap up. LBJ signed above top secret, I don't even know that even existed, treaty with Israel for the mutual exchange of intelligence and arrangement called Stone Ruby. So the main question, why did Israel attack? So some would say, and a lot of these guys that were on the ship, Israel wanted to protect their next move. Israel had told America that this was going to be a limited war and not a land grab. But on June 8th, 1967, their forces were poised to attack and seize Golan Heights and invade Syria, something they'd wish to keep from the White House until they did it. Okay, and then both Republican and Democrats refused to deal with the USS Liberty. There was a war crimes report filed by the Liberty Veterans Association, but nothing came of it. So who's to blame? And again, I'm happy you guys said that. And I want everybody that's listening to listen to what Rob said and listen to what I'm saying. Judging a country's actions, judging leaders, whoever the hell was in the war room, it has nothing to do with the people as a whole, okay? If somebody from Guatemala, the leader, is murdering or doing whatever, and I go, hey, this guy's an asshole, doesn't mean I'm saying to hell with all Guatemalans. I hope you guys are smarter than that, not to fall for that trap, because if that's it, especially with Congress right now, they're trying to pass something. It passed the House, but it has to go to the Senate.
The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act.
Anti-Semitism, where if you even criticize Israel or what they're doing, you're going to get like legal action taken.
HR 6090.
HR, like what
For the
are
record,
we talking about?
there are many Jews that are against that bill.
No, I agree with it. Even Adam was against it. You know what I mean? But
So they're using anti-Semitism as a way to support certain war measures that have nothing to do with the Jewish people as such.
Well, that's
And
why.
this is not a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you just need I feel like you need a giant whiteboard to understand this all too, because even a lot of this are Maoist communist tactics, right?
Right.
In communist China, there were black identities and red identities. A red identity was a good communist identity, and a black identity, like you were saying, a lot of those names are things you didn't want to be. Mm-hmm. So we use the same tools are used against us in many different things, and I just feel like we need a big whiteboard to organize it all.
Like Vinny was saying, it's not a critique of Israeli people, Jewish people, the religion of Judaism.
Nope.
It's the critique of the political entity of the nation of Israel that has been responsible for horrible things for decades. I was just talking with Humberto out in the office earlier. Reminded me, have you ever heard of the Lavon affair?
No, what's that?
That was a false flag operation Israel tried to pull off in Egypt, where they recruited a bunch of Egyptian Jews to plant bombs in a bunch of embassies and properties, including American, British, and even Egyptian government buildings, because the plan was to blame the Muslim Brotherhood.
Oh, wow.
And then that would encourage Egypt to get involved in the action against them. And the whole thing fell apart. They got caught, and
Nothing happened?
nothing happened.
Yeah, weird.
Egypt and Israel are still on speaking terms.
Yeah.
In another episode, can we get into the Israeli art students who were working inside the Twin Towers prior to 9/11, as well as the dancing Israelis? Not today, but that's a teaser.
Oh, yeah.
Future anti-Semitic content
yeah.
coming your way.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that,
'cause we're all
that
anti-Semitic.
documentary they got coming out called "We Will Dance Again"? That sounds like a threat.
Oh, shit. We will dance.
It's
again.
about October 7th.
Oh, yeah.
but
Oh, wow. Okay.
they're gonna dance.
Well, all right. Well, Connor, since we're already on you, I saw something about Harambe's culture theory. What is that about?
Okay,
Is he in heaven in that photo?
yeah,
Look at this guy.
So we're gonna have to dive deep into some real weird internet stuff here. Okay. So just by a quick show of hands, do any of you have any idea what I'm talking about with this?
Harambe,
I remember the kid that jumped into the pit and then they shot the gorilla like he did something wrong.
Right.
The gorilla was just minding his own business.
Yeah.
I definitely remember
Jeremy,
this.
are you at all familiar with this?
I have no idea.
Okay,
what this
so
is.
let's start at the beginning, because the reason I bring this up is that the 8th anniversary of this event was yesterday, May 28th. This happened in 2016. So it's at the Cincinnati Zoo, and a 3 or 4-year-old kid crawls into the gorilla enclosure, falls down, and a silverback gorilla named Harambe grabs him and is dragging him around the enclosure.
Yes.
Here's a video of that incident. Clearly, this gigantic gorilla, Silverback, has a kid just like by the arm and is dragging him through the water.
Great parenting, by the way. Let your kid get to by the silverback.
Right now, the kid is like up underneath him, and this is part of what led to the discussion of, was he trying to protect the kid? Was he trying to hurt the kid? Did he view the kid as like just a thing to like kind of play with?
Probably like, where's his parents?
Yeah.
I'll babysit him, but like, it's not my job.
It's happened before where, like the baby falls in and the mother gorilla picks it up and cradles it. And the kid's just zookeeper. But the thing is,
threatening. I mean, if it was my kid, I'd be freaking out. Right
and
now.
anytime
Oh my
a
God.
gorilla is holding a human child, odds are pretty good it's going to get hurt. Because a gorilla, like see the kid goes to stand up and he's just holding it, but then he goes to run around. You can cut the video there.
He's probably like, no, this kid is not hairy at all.
Yeah.
Like, I'm used to hairy ass little
it
gorillas.
His balls.
was unclear what was happening, but the kid got hurt. The kid was injured and was getting more hurt the more Harambe dragged
Yeah, because he
him
fell into a gorilla pit.
Exactly.
Right? So that would be
that was gonna hurt.
me too.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the zookeepers had to they shot the gorilla.
Jeez.
They fatally shot it. They went and they rescued the kid, and everything that happened since then, I believe that the death of Harambe 8 years ago at the Cincinnati Zoo might be one of the biggest inflection points that led us to the cultural rot we have today.
Are you serious?
And I'm prepared.
The shooting of a gorilla?
So
I'm
Connor,
prepared-
you know what this segment is missing? A picture of Harambe with that Sarah McLachlan song playing in the background.
Yeah.
So yes, here's a tweet I posted yesterday. I cannot exactly prove that the death of Harambe at the Cincinnati Zoo on this day 8 years ago ended the world and cast us all into a kind of endless purgatory. But ask yourself this: have you actually felt alive since May 2016? Think about everything that went insane after that. No, okay, yes, obviously I'm exaggerating a little bit to be funny here, but I need you guys to understand, because Vinny, if you missed it, and Jeremy, if you weren't aware of it, the way this event shaped internet culture and the way we talked about things for the better part of a year is, I can't even overstate this. I had to make a list of all the ways that this thing came up. So there was a change.org petition calling to punish the parents and hold them accountable for the death of the gorilla, because they're saying there's no way the kid would have ended up there if you were good parents. So they started an online petition that got 338,000 signatures to hold them criminally responsible for the death of this gorilla. It immediately, every time a news organization covered it or mentioned the memes that sprang up, I have a compilation of memes I'll get to in a little bit. And anytime this came up, people were immediately trying to say, well, this is just a dog whistle for racism. And they're talking about how, because the way the internet works is anytime anything comes up about a gorilla or a monkey of any kind, someone immediately tries to say, well, you're just talking about black people. As if to...
Doesn't that say more about the person making the claim?
It should.
Yeah,
It
you
should.
think so?
He's like, why are you thinking about that?
Among those groups, it almost sparked a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against BuzzFeed by a Facebook group that was falsely accused of using Harambe as a racial meme. And BuzzFeed was just like, yeah, they were totally doing that. And then they didn't. BuzzFeed just made it up. So they almost got sued. This next one, I think, has some of the best versions of the meme. Who could forget the age-old "dicks out for Harambe" meme? Did you guys remember that?
I remember
No
my
idea.
brothers, because my brothers are like 5 and 6 years younger than me. And I remember going home at the beach. Maybe it was possibly Memorial Day. And everybody was going, dicks up for her. And I go, what? Dicks out for what? I don't understand
Who?
anything.
Harambe?
You
What
guys
the
are saying
fuck?
I'm keeping my wiener in my butt.
Hammurabi? What?
We're just
Hammurabi's code?
We're hardcore coming to avenge Harambe, and we're doing it genitalia exposed.
Yeah.
There was a Chinese zoo that had a baby gorilla born in their enclosure. They put up an online poll to see, like, what should we name it? Harambe McHarambe Face won that.
Bodie McBoatface won one
Yes.
time when they named
Yeah.
the boat, too.
Yeah.
Someone made a good
that's what
post
it's
about
based
that.
on.
They were like, the boomers dying is going to be terrible because millennials are going to be in charge of society, and then everything's going to be named shit like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fucking
no.
But then, that was
cringe,
my
big boat
favorite
face.
Harambe meme there. Listen, kid, I don't have much time. I have information that might indict Hillary Clinton. And then obviously somebody shot Harambe.
That's funny.
That's
Seth
great.
Rich.
But even beyond that, somebody hacked the zoo's official Twitter account and started posting edgy Harambe memes. The statement from the zoo was, "We are not amused by the memes, petitions, and signs about Harambe. Our zoo family is still healing, and the constant mention of Harambe makes moving forward more difficult for us.
Healing.
We are
Victim
honoring
culture.
Harambe by redoubling our gorilla conservation efforts and encouraging others to join us." So clearly the zoo had no sense of humor about it, but then again, they did have to shoot the gorilla.
Yeah.
Even beyond that, the University of Massachusetts Amherst had an email distributed among a bunch of people in its residence halls calling posting Harambe memes a microaggression against black people and saying that dicks out for Harambe was a Title IX violation because it was her sexual harassment against women.
Oh, my God.
So this was one of the... You have to remember where we were culturally in 2016. This
Yeah.
was still the Obama administration.
Just peak woke.
It was woke. Woke was like, we didn't have the term woke yet. Social justice warrior was a more
I
common
hate that.
expression for
SJWs.
it.
That
The
gets me sick
SJWs
just
and
hearing that.
the rise of snowflake culture. This was all going on right there. Trump was in his campaign. He'd only declared a little while before that.
Yeah.
Obama was still president. We were still figuring out a bunch of stuff with how the internet factored into the real world. And this really took off as like one of the first things of, you know, all the progressives were mad about animal rights activists were furious that you killed the gorilla, and if you use the gorilla meme, it's racist against black people, and conservatives were... This was like early Breitbart, kind of Daily Wire-esque.
This
when
broke the internet, basically.
It really broke the
internet early.
But because of the election, it got mentioned by Trump. It got mentioned, I think, briefly by the Clinton campaign, not her directly, but people in her orbit. Harambe became a write-in candidate on 2016 ballots and allegedly got over 11,000 people who wrote his name
joking.
as a protest because they were so mad about the fact that nobody wanted Trump and Hillary. Everyone wanted other candidates, so people were writing in Harambe.
Sounds familiar.
During early polls where people were writing in Harambe, he was beating Jill Stein by about 4%. So
Which doesn't take a lot,
yeah.
but...
and this other one just blew me away. A Cheeto that looked like a gorilla sold on eBay for $99,900. We have a photo of that as well, right here.
Oh, my
Yep.
God.
This gorilla-shaped Cheeto. It was the Harambe Cheeto.
How much?
$99,900.
I hope that guy's dead.
This is what the billing
I hope
got
that
up to.
person's
literally.
dead.
But
Idiot.
the way that this had an irreparable effect on how people talk. Shane and I were what, like sophomores in college
Yeah.
at that point?
My theory about this stuff is basically it's a way people don't even realize this is what they're doing, but it's a way to get back at a society that's seen as absurd or meaningless. So like if you were to try to explain this to an old person, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like what the why are they all pretending to be so upset about this gorilla dying?"
Yeah.
And it's like when society itself is so stupid and ridiculous. It's like people just want to make it even more ridiculous as a way to be like, well, if you don't take me seriously, I won't take you seriously.
Of course.
I won't take anything seriously.
And to that
And
effect,
it's
I actually have a
honestly
quote.
sad thing.
I have a quote I pulled from Vox because they did a whole write-up on the Harambe phenomenon.
Yeah.
If you were a progressive, the Harambe meme gave you the chance to mock what you viewed as the hypocritical haranguing of the mainstream media while avoiding real issues of social justice. If you were a conservative, you could mock liberal hysteria. It was the perfect balance of some people got to be mad about social justice issues without having to do any actual work. And then if you were on the other side, you could make fun of all the people who were hysterical about it. But this was, like I said, Shane and I were probably like sophomores in college at this point. This was right around the time I was first like getting online, paying attention to politics, observing cultural things. And about 3 or 4 months after Harambe, there was a family that was on vacation down here in Florida at a Disney resort. And they were hanging out by the lake on the property. And their like 3 or 4-year-old was splashing around in the water. An alligator came up and killed the kid.
Oh, damn.
This was an out-of-town family that had no idea that every large body of water in the state just assume there's an alligator in there.
Yeah.
And horrific tragedy. A family lost a child.
I remember that.
That wasn't even funny. But the online reaction was a bunch of people posting Harambe shaking hands with an alligator, be like, hey, if they take me out, you got to get one for me,
God.
right? Like they took me out for a kid, so you take out one to balance the scale.
Wow.
That was the reaction. These memes were trending for weeks, and it's like I couldn't even imagine how horrible it would be to be a family in that situation, and suddenly like, oh, because somebody shot a gorilla to save a kid, now my kid's death is a joke.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's not what started the cultural rot. Like I said, when I said that was the moment that cast us into hell, it was kind of a joke. But it showed sort of everything coming together to form the culture we have now. And I just want to walk us through some of the events that happened in the immediate aftermath of this gorilla dying.
Okay.
So that happened May 28th, 2016. June 12th, we had the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Yes.
Which everybody remembers. It was dressed up as like a big anti-homophobia or a big anti-LGBT shooting.
Was the guy
it actually
gay?
wasn't.
Was the guy gay? That
Muslim.
No, it was an ISIS attack. He had no
Okay.
idea it was.
No,
I
I thought he was gay. I thought he went.
thought-
He
well,
ended up going to the
Yeah,
club
he was also
beforehand.
gay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
he
he
was
was
undercover gay because he had a wife who also knew that he was going to do this.
Yeah.
And then did she ever get prosecuted or charged?
I think that there was some attempt to prosecute her, but basically,
So he's a gay terrorist.
yeah, but
Yeah, gay terrorist.
Got it.
he didn't seem to know it was a gay nightclub. He was shooting it up on behalf of the Islamic State. June 23rd.
Sorry. I'm gonna just. Everybody's gonna.
We're not laughing at the shooting. Let's be
No,
clear about
I'm not-
that. We're
oh, the
laughing at
shooting, I
gay,
thought I was
the idea
making-
of gay terrorists.
Guys, I'm a comedian at heart. I just thought gay terrorist. I'm sorry. I just
So he takes everybody out. He dies. He gets up to Muslim heaven. He gets 72 virgins, and they're all women.
All for
He's
nothing.
like, wait, I didn't want. Oh no.
Again,
I
terrible tragedy.
I want to see the contract for what kind of.
But anyway, June 23rd, the Brexit referendum began.
Gotcha.
That was when there was the whole thing of England trying to leave the European Union.
Never really happened.
Yeah,
Never
it didn't
really
happen until 2020, and even then it barely
but
happened. But like that caused political turmoil over there. July 6th, Pokemon Go broke
Oh
out.
God.
Oh,
Where
my God.
everybody lost
I
their
remember
minds.
that. That's when everybody was walking around the neighborhood with the phones going like this.
bunch
Look
of
at Yeah,
assholes.
but I do that recording chicks, and I'm the creep. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fair.
weird.
That's fair.
Permanently plugged into their phone, walking around the neighborhood in the dark, going to people's backyards.
People were getting hit by cars and I was celebrating.
And I had grown men that I was friends with that had families that were leaving their children to walk around the neighborhood to collect Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm
They
sorry
should
I
die.
snuck into your backyard at 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought there was a Charizard back there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Remember the Hillary ad, Pokemon Go to the polls?
I don't know who made this Pokemon Go, but they need to make Pokemon go to the polls.
Yeah.
Here's the
Shut
thing.
up, Hillary.
This is gonna sound super dorky. I was like in 7th grade when Pokemon became a thing. I collected all the cards, and I used to tell my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna become a millionaire on these Pokemon cards. One day they're gonna be worth something. And that never ended up coming to fruition until the Pokemon Go craze came around. And I go, Dad, where's my binder with all my Pokemon cards? Everybody's playing Pokemon Go. And my dad said, I threw that gay shit away. My Charizard and my Mew card.
Yeah. Could have put your kids through college on that. But then September 3rd of that same year, U.S. and China enter the Paris Climate Accords, which you know the whole psycho thing around that. October 7th of that year. Interesting date. The intelligence community makes the Russian election hacking allegations.
Weird.
The Washington Post leaks Trump's Access Hollywood tape, and WikiLeaks posts Hillary Clinton's emails all on the same day.
Wow.
And then
What a day, huh?
like
Magical.
Blast
insane
from the
day.
past.
The effects of that day in particular. You want to talk about the effects of an October 7th? We're still feeling that today.
Dude, imagine having to write articles that day.
Oh my
I can't
God.
even imagine. I'm glad I was,
suck.
19 and in college at that point. November 8th was, of course, the day Trump was elected. And then that following January 6th, so January 6th, 2017, is the day the intel community first alleged Russian election interference
Collusion.
that benefited Trump.
Weird.
Wow.
And it began from there, and we are still feeling the effects of it today. So these are cultural things, political things. Most of them have nothing to do with Harambe, obviously.
Well, so here's my question. Who gets more votes, Harambe in 2016 or that strange guy the Libertarians just nominated this year?
Oh, God.
yeah.
Chris Oliver or Chad Oliver?
Chad?
Chase Oliver. Chase Oliver.
That
Sorry.
same guy.
He's
same
just
name.
he's so memorable. I mean, I can't believe we.
Given that guy's Twitter history, I'd trust Harambe with a kid more. But, that's neither here nor there.
I still can't get over the Cheeto that.
Yeah.
Hey, Drake, can you show that Cheeto really quick? Can you show that? By the way, $99,000.
Now, I don't know if it sold for that much or if it was listed for that much, but they were bidding on this for weeks.
That's unbelievable.
It's like somebody that sees the Virgin Mary on a slice of toast.
Yeah, and then
Exactly.
saves it and sells it. Okay,
And
I'm sorry.
Harambe
Thanks,
became
Trey.
like a new cultural icon here. And like I said, the way this shaped the way people, me and Shane's age, the way it shaped the way we thought and talked and viewed things, it sort of put into perfect relief how ridiculous the world was. We latched on to this thing about a gorilla because we couldn't stand the fact that politics was ridiculous and it made no sense and the world was just deserving of being parodied. But just to show that Harambe remains culturally relevant, this was a post from Elon Musk just a couple days ago. Because
OG dog.
Dogecoin dog died.
when the dog who the Shiba Inu, that the famous meme, the Doge meme that became Dogecoin, died just a couple days ago, you saw the caption, "OG Doge has ascended to heaven and will now be with his friend Harambe."
Oh, my God.
Elon Musk remembers.
Does that mean it's over, like the whole cycle we're in? Or
I don't know if we begun a new cycle or if it's just
Post-woke.
getting worse.
Hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's over.
Yeah. So
think it's over?
I do
Hopefully.
at least in part believe that the death of that gorilla broke the world in a way that we're only now just beginning to understand.
Holy shit. I didn't know where you were going to go with it. Now, I'm actually upset. I'm actually really, really upset with the damn gorilla situation. And that if that Cheeto sold, I'm going to go start buying a bunch of Flaming Hot Cheetos and look for like Joe Biden maybe sniffing somebody or just something and help you guys sell that on eBay. All right, moving on to the next story. Shane, the Trump trial, please let me know because I want to know what Jeremy thinks about it as well.
Yes, so I thought for my segment today I would kind of just go through what exactly is happening with this Trump trial that could lead to Trump's prison sentence. This is the first criminal trial against any president in U.S. history.
Weird.
And it all goes back to 2017 era, just like all this stuff you're talking about,
Harambe broke it.
because it's all about Stormy Daniels. This is the Stormy Daniels trial where essentially the original trial, which was to prove that Trump committed a campaign violation by allegedly giving hush money to former porn star Stormy Daniels,
Adult film actress.
adult film actress, sex worker. Sorry,
Yeah, not a star.
She's not a star.
No,
She's
star.
a porn regular.
So I didn't
extra.
know this until I started looking into all this. But apparently they met at a golf tournament in Nevada, which is just such a boomer thing. But she claims that they had sex. Trump has to this day not admitted that. He says she's completely making it up. But either way, it wouldn't be, the crime is not about whether he had sex with her. It is about whether he paid her to not say anything. And then this trial is not about whether he paid her or not, and if it's a campaign violation. It's actually about whether he did not properly reflect in his business records that he paid her hush money.
with
Campaign.
money from the organization, from Trump organization.
No, just that it's illegal in general. So they haven't been able to prove that it was his campaign. So they ditched that argument. Now they're trying to find if it was just a business lie in his business ledger.
But,
So
like,
they're grasping for straws.
Okay, but if he writes that check from his personal account, how is any of that a crime to pay somebody to not talk about having sex with you?
Yeah.
Well,
you can
exactly.
have people sign NDA. No offense, Vinny, if I banged Vinny and I go, hey, that was a mistake, we got drunk, I don't want you telling anybody, sign this NDA, I'll give you $100,000. That's illegal.
Sold.
Well, so what they're hoping
Sold.
for.
I'll never talk.
This is
Would
how.
it
This
need
is how.
that many zeros to buy your silence on it, Vinny?
That's fine.
Yeah, $10 on the neck.
Yeah.
No, but the whole thing is very tenuous because they're basically trying to prove that it happened through the business ledger thing.
Okay.
So that then they could say, therefore, it was a campaign violation. But as Trump says, they don't have jurisdiction to prosecute a federal crime because it's Alvin Bragg, a district attorney in New York. So one wouldn't connect to the other.
Kind of position as a felony.
So now what this is it could become a felony in the state of New York though because
It could.
hold on. The falsification of business records in New York is a misdemeanor, but can become a felony should prosecutors establish that the falsification helped cover up a crime. So the crime would then be that he was covering up was the campaign violation. But they can't prove that because they're not a federal court. So Trump is saying that the whole thing is complete nonsense and won't actually lead anywhere. But the thing is that all 34 counts of falsification of business records are Class E felonies, and each carry the weight of a 4-year maximum prison sentence. While Justice Juan Merchant said he would not hesitate to imprison Trump, he could just as easily sentence him to probation, so that could be a possibility. But the Secret Service has, this is a new report from yesterday from CBS, they've already met with prison officials in New York.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Yes. So this is crazy because, this, by the way, this is all on VT.com. This is crazy because it means that they have at least some reasonable suspicion that Trump could be sentenced, and they're making preparations to make sure that he's protected.
Could they just, I mean, it doesn't sound like our government to be proactive. Could they just be proactive and checking to make sure everything would be okay if he were to end up?
Well, yes, but the fact that they would do that.
And it's not his Secret Service because he has his own. He has Secret
his
Service that
private
protects
security.
him
Yeah.
from the Secret Service.
Yeah, bro, is that wild? He has to have people watching the government appointed. Rob, think about that. Would you trust them? Jeremy, would you trust the freaking Secret Service?
So the Praetorian Guard were the members that were they were special army unit that were responsible for protecting emperors, and they were the group that most often killed emperors.
Yeah. Weird. Weird.
That's why when
Interesting.
RFK was like complaining that he couldn't get Secret Service like detail, I'm like, I know it's expensive, but do you want it?
Yeah.
Or aren't you saying like I have to, especially with that your
Especially with
family's
his
history?
Yeah, with his
the federal
uncle?
government?
Are you
Yeah.
freaking
Oh,
crazy?
well,
That to bring it back to the Roman point real quick, that's why it's such a problem that they keep trying to call Trump Caesar. Because look at the solution that was implemented to stop Caesar from doing whatever it was they thought he was going to do. It's just, oh, what if we just stabbed him a bunch?
Well, and that's once again where the whole history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes thing, because something that happened in the late Republic is, so you had the highest office in Rome was something called the consul. And there were always two of them because they were afraid of kings. So they always wanted two people to share power. So in 59 BC, Caesar is consul. And in that year, the other guy, his name was Marcus Biblius, didn't have a lot of power. So traditionally, they would call the year of those consuls. So it would be Caesar and Biblius. But instead, they called it the consulship of Julius and Caesar, is what they would call it, because he was basically the only guy doing everything.
Wow.
And he did a lot of things that were very populist. So he gives land to troops that had come back from serving. He handles the grain dole better than the Gracchi had done a generation before. So he does a lot of these very popular things. So he serves for a year, and then he goes off for a 9-year campaign on Gaul.
Jeez.
So he doesn't want to re-enter the city after his Gaul campaign, because what would happen is after somebody had had their consulship, they would pass laws, and they would prosecute the person who was consul before the laws existed for the laws that they made after their consulship. So in the late Republic, you would have a guy that would never want to relinquish power, and it's not just Caesar. It happened with guys before him. You had, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the name now. But you've had consuls that they were only supposed to have power twice. They would have it 4, 5, 6, 7 times. It's why even Sulla, who declares himself dictator before Caesar, doesn't want to relinquish power. Because if they give up power, they get charged with crimes they did that weren't crimes when they did them. It's very
damn.
late Republic stuff.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead, Shane.
Shockingly similar.
Yeah, weird.
It's insane, the parallels. And then I also wonder, like, did they have people like Soros in Rome, because so much of this is the marionetting of different levels of power by these billionaires. Like Alvin Bragg himself, it's often said
Marcus
that he...
Crassus.
So he was the very wealthy man, right?
So the first triumvirate, and it wasn't like an official thing. So I mentioned Caesar having his consulship in 59. There's a private agreement between Pompey the Great, Crassus, and Julius Caesar. It's called the first triumvirate. So basically these three guys are privately deciding everything that's going to happen in the city of Rome. Crassus was the richest guy in Rome, and what he would do is lend all the money to all the other politicians when they're running for office. And the reason Caesar makes a lot of decisions he makes is, number one, he owes a lot of money to Crassus, but number two, he was broke his entire life because he would continue to take money from Crassus to be able to do the things he was going to do. So if you want to say, was there a George Soros type character, it's Marcus Crassus.
Son of a bitch.
Well, so the modern day Crassus has funded Alvin Bragg, and Bragg is the guy who brought this all to court, and he is a district attorney. Bragg was funded through Color of Change PAC, but it's still ultimately from Soros.
It's George Soros.
Let's play this clip first of Don Jr.
And what is he upset about in here? I mean, obviously the whole thing.
This is a good summary of what's going on.
Okay, let's hear it.
The world. But the fact that they are holding a rally across the seat from this very witch hunt, right across the street, tells us exactly what we all knew all along, that it is a political persecution. It is a witch hunt. There is a reason one of the people sitting at that desk was the number 3 person in Joe Biden's DOJ. I know my father is not allowed to say Matthew Colangelo in his name, right? Because he's been gagged. The President of the United States is not allowed to exercise his First Amendment rights in New York City in this day and age.
They're having a rally across the street.
I think Rob's going to get to this, but Robert De Niro was... I don't know if you saw, but he was ranting outside the courthouse.
We had a mask on, but we'll talk about that too.
And it wasn't just him doing it. He was put up there by the Biden campaign itself.
Of course.
Along with 2 police officers that were there at Capitol Hill on January 6th. So Don Jr.'s point is, this is, the whole idea is that, it's just a criminal trial. It's just because, no one's above the law. No, this is an absolute political hit job to the point where the Biden campaign is there celebrating it.
Exactly.
And then let's play this clip of Trump making the same point.
Make no mistake about it. I'm here because of crooked Joe Biden. The worst president in the history of our country is destroying our country. This country is being destroyed rapidly, not slowly, rapidly. On the borders, on energy, on inflation, on everything you can name. Afghanistan removal, everything about what he's done. He's destroying our country. And he's also destroying it with weaponization. And this is purely his weaponization.
So the guy next to him is Ted Blanche. He is Trump's defense lawyer in this trial. I'm sorry, Todd Blanche.
Todd.
He.
That's him?
Yeah. So no, this is the prosecution assistant. So
he looks like a prosecuting.
This guy's name is Joshua Steinglass. He is such a piece of shit. I was reading about him.
Yeah.
Basically, he just hates Trump, and his whole thing is just hating Trump.
That's his whole life, his existence.
His whole life. Well, he's a veteran lawyer in New York, but he goes after violent crimes. But I was thinking about this. So in 2019, he convicted 2 Proud Boys members for some scuffle outside of a Republican clubhouse. And I'm like, what about all of the other violent crime that goes on in New York? Where the fuck is this guy for all that? He just
bears a resemblance to Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Oh my God,
yeah,
he's kind of close.
He looks like the Penguin.
He is the Penguin,
and he's just like this, smug bastard. Like Rob says, my neck picture smug. Look at this, Rob. That's
pretty
true
smug,
smugness.
Yeah, but that's New York smug. You had DC swamp monster smug.
That
in
is
yours.
that is very. Yeah, you're right. That's a little bit
this
smug.
guy looks like
But
he has more chins than
stands.
convictions on his record.
Okay, but so this guy. He gave his argument for the latter half of yesterday, and his point is basically that, Trump is, or Cohen was a hired gun or fixer who had a brawler-like boots-on-the-ground role at the Trump organization. He said that these guys, as in Trump and Cohen, know each other well. They speak in coded language, and they speak fast. So that's his argument. Like, Trump is like, why don't you guys prove, you're bringing the case up, so the burden of proof is on you. Prove that I told him to do any of this.
Yeah.
prove that Cohen was told to do this. And so this Steinglass is saying, well, I don't have to prove that because they spoke in coded language and they spoke fast.
Oh, God.
So read between the lines. So he's trying to indict him on reading between the lines.
That's not going to work.
Bear in
And
mind,
then,
Michael Cohen is a convicted serial perjurer who confessed to like 3 or 4 felonies on the stand, and he's their star witness.
Yeah, and Cohen 2 weeks ago admitted that he stole $60,000 from Trump previously. So the only thing that they have determined in this whole trial is that Cohen has stolen from Trump. That's the only crime that they've proven. But since he's not on trial for that, then they can't prosecute Cohen. But so, anyways, Blanche's whole thing was that Cohen is the gloat or greatest liar of all time. He called him the MVP of liars and the human embodiment of reasonable doubt. He also suggested that Cohen edited the digital evidence presented on his phones, including audio recordings, that they should be thrown out. And then this is crazy. Blanche presented audio recordings of Cohen giddy to the point of being maniacal. This is the New York Times description. In reaction to news that Trump was indicted, to insinuate Cohen is politically and personally motivated. And then also, he brought up this meme that Cohen had shared of Trump in an orange jail jumpsuit, basically celebrating it. And the New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman said the audio clips were among the most damaging pieces of evidence entered to impeach Cohen. So even the New York Times reporters are saying at this point, Cohen, their star witness, is not very trustworthy. He seems like he could be impeached as someone that's whose evidence matters in this trial, and the whole thing is going to fall apart. But if it's not, if this judge decides no, Trump is completely guilty, Trump could be facing multiple decades in prison. That's the maximum sentence.
I really wish. I hope he gets. I want him in jail.
Yeah,
I want them to arrest him and put him in jail.
Nelson Mandela.
This will make, dude. I'm like, and again, this is such a. You know what bothers me? That we, the people, are all watching this unfold, and we can't do shit,
right?
Because it's the law,
right?
Because you can't stop them, Jimmy. You can't, like, everybody except unless you're a leftist, brainwashed sheep. It's completely obvious. Like, I was texting one of my old LA friends. I wouldn't even consider him a friend at this point. Just like, hey man, what they're doing is, he's guilty. I'm like, shut the hell up, bro.
Yeah.
I go, you're.
It's the law. Nothing. No one's above the law, and yet they selectively apply the law whenever they want.
I think there's less people like that though, and I think there's more people that have, been guilty of a crime that they didn't do, or maybe they got a parking ticket that they weren't guilty of. I think there's a lot of people that are like, they're mad at the court system, they're mad at the state, and this actually just makes people support Trump more.
Oh, especially the minority base, bro. I'm telling you guys right now.
Yeah.
What that rally in New York, people are freaking
that was awesome.
Tired of this shit, bro. And it's like nothing's working. Your tactics are backfiring. What's up, Rob?
Well, you said that there's nothing we can do, but I feel like this is doing something.
Yes.
It may not be storming the courthouse, but I do believe that.
Which you should not do, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't do that.
Correct. Because then I'll end up in a gulag. That's what my mom says. And when the Chinese invade, I'll be eating our dog. That's what she tells me. But you are doing something by highlighting this and trying to expose this for other people to understand and see what's going on. So I hate when people feel defeated like that, because I don't think we should feel defeated. I feel like this is when they're clearly weaponizing the justice system to persecute Trump. Look at what's his name? Who's the actor that just came out?
Talk to me.
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis
just
Quaid
came out and said, you know what really made me support Donald Trump was looking at what they're doing and how they're using the justice system as a weapon to put him in jail. So I do think that you guys are doing things. And Andres, I sent you a video. I don't know if you could play it.
Oh, you want to go right now?
It's real quick.
Oh, go wait.
But this is great.
This isn't your story. This isn't your story though?
No. This is Kash Patel from last week. So outside of the courthouse, all of the people that are supporting Trump have shown up and spoke to the press. Kash Patel is outside, and this is where he talks about, after all of the investigations, all of the weeks spent in trial, they have finally found someone who is guilty of a crime.
Yeah.
Michael Cohen, who admitted on the stand to committing 6, 7 felonies. Yeah. And not only did we now finally, after all of these weeks of testimony, have we found a criminal, we've also found a victim. And that victim, oddly enough, is the person that's on trial, Donald J. Trump. If you can't play it, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I'll just tell you now then. The person that is on trial right now is the victim of a crime because Michael Cohen admitted to stealing $30,000 to $60,000 from the Trump organization. Yeah. So just for him to go out and highlight that there is a criminal, but the criminal is actually the star witness who is there in the trial testifying against the victim that man stole money from. Yeah. That should tell you everything you need to know that this is insane.
And I know all the details, like it gets very boring and it's like, why, like, you know, trust me, I had to write this whole article, which by the way, it's on VT.com. Read it because it took 1,500 words, this whole boring ass thing and that's built on nothing. But it's still important to learn about it all just to realize how ridiculous it is so that you can be caught up to where we're at right now. If the former president and possibly future president goes to jail, it's going to be important to know why and just how tenuous and ridiculous the evidence was.
And because think about how they use, Trump's been impeached twice. That must mean he's terrible.
Talking points.
No, he was impeached twice for ridiculous, made-up reasons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
twice impeached.
Yeah.
Twice impeached.
Twice impeached.
No, Trump.
Not my POTUS.
Trump goes to jail. It's like, are you really? You're gonna,
but that's also
a convicted
he's a
inmate,
criminal.
A convict is going to become okay. So
they
it's
take
just a
advantage
talking
of
point.
people for not knowing definitions of words too.
Yeah.
Right. Like to be impeached or to be indicted, it doesn't mean you did the thing. It just says somebody says you're guilty of doing the thing. You're supposed to prove it. Yeah. But I think the media takes extreme advantage of people for not knowing the definition of
people
words.
are dumb, and then they just go, oh, guess what? Yeah, Joe Biden might be a little old, but he's not been indicted 91 times.
That's the talking point. And
but they act like that indictment's a conviction.
And that's the reason for this whole thing. And I'm going to say this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, guys. Jeremy, and you just met me today. I'm being dead serious. Donald Trump can say things in locker rooms like, grab them by the pussy all day. He can say that all day. He can get impeached 1,000 times. He can bang 10,000 Stormy Daniels and give them whatever the hell he wants. I don't give a shit. I would rather have him with his policies and his brashness and his scaring the shit out of all these other countries to have what we had until COVID hit. I want that back. The only thing that was hurting in this country was people's feelings. And I can give two shits about people's feelings, okay? We were kicking ass like we've never done before. Say what you want. Those 3 years, greatest presidential run, I think, personally, in the history of this country.
First president in 70 years to have no new wars. And when he said that at the Libertarian Convention, they booed him.
Yeah. They booed him.
Like, oh, no, we want war.
Yeah. And he's like, you can have your 3%. Your 3% is great.
Keep it, you loser.
I love that.
But I'm just
keep it up. Third-party candidates. Harambe beat you that one time.
I'm just tired of it. I just hope the guy. I mean, dude, I hope he wins. We could talk life after Trump on another podcast because that's what I'm worried about. But anyway, all right. Last story, Rob. Speaking of New York, speaking of idiots and morons that we're talking about, how about Robert De Niro? What's he up to?
Well, yeah, it's very interesting, the celebrity endorsement, and does it actually matter to people? We just talked about the media playing to the dumbest of people and using their dumbness against them. I think celebrity endorsements are the same thing. Does anybody give a shit?
No.
What, like, okay, The Rock tells me to vote for this person, I should vote for that person? Who gives a shit?
Rob, when Cher's like, if Trump wins, I'm moving. No!
Yeah.
Please!
We couldn't get that lucky.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for Hillary, you stupid idiot.
So yesterday, outside of the Manhattan courthouse where Donald Trump is currently on trial, one of my favorite actors, it's actually upsetting to see. I've loved his movies.
Me too.
Heat is one of the best bank robbery movies of all time.
Probably ever.
And it's the first time that De Niro and Pacino are actually in the same movie. They're in The Godfather, but they're never in the same scene.
Yeah.
Such a good movie. I've watched all the Meet the Focker movies because, I like Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart to see this guy go out and act this way.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Robert De Niro goes in front of the courthouse yesterday and claims that Trump could destroy the world. This is a Fox News article. Robert De Niro claims Trump could destroy the world outside Manhattan courthouse. De Niro criticizes Trump as a danger to America and said that he'll destroy the world if he gets reelected. Andres, if you could please play clip number 1.
Forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life? I hope
He's reading notes, by the way.
Campaign reaches outside the bubble to remind supporters of what a danger he is to our lives. This is not a threat. This is a reality. And that's why I've joined the Biden-Harris campaign, because the only way to preserve our freedoms and hold on to our humanity is to vote for Joe Biden for president. Really. We don't have a choice.
Taxi drivers really let himself go.
I love it.
On January 6th, while Republican lawmakers despicably tried to keep the loser Trump.
He didn't write any of this.
Trump.
By the way, I didn't write any of that.
Yeah.
That's all by the campaign. He's reading it. Well, he's an actor. He should memorize that shit if he wrote it.
Let's show the crowd reaction because it's
please
very
show it.
interesting.
Rob, can I
how
point
the
out one
crowd-
thing before you do
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
Is Donald Trump president?
No.
If you ask my mom, yes, but
So-
she's also
Okay,
moving on.
so did he leave?
yes.
Okay, he's wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong 100%.
What do you think his single information point or his single point of reference about a guy who comes into power and refuses to leave is? Who do you think he's basing that on, Jeremy?
Caesar?
There you go.
Oh, wow.
It, it goes back to this whole thing again.
Caesar named himself dictator for life.
Yeah, Shane and I have talked over this multiple times.
Basically,
both on
they
the
wanna
show,
kill
and
him.
it's like
if they had
if
the
you can
chance?
pitch him as the threat, as the dictator who's never going to leave.
Then you're a hero if you kill
Yeah,
him.
assassination is the only response to that.
Which, trust me, they would if they could. Go ahead,
Well,
Rob.
let's take a look at how the crowd reacted. Obviously, New York City, a more democratic city, so obviously the crowd would be there to support legendary actor Robert De Niro, who has a full Trump derangement syndrome meltdown
That's
in
the
the
worst.
streets of Manhattan. Let's take a look at how the crowd reacted to De Niro's speech.
Fuck you! Marcus, you touch kids! You touch kids! You loser!
I hope those are unusual suspects.
Suck my dick!
They're actually going to be on next week.
Look.
We're trying to be gentlemen in this world.
Gentlemen.
Democrats. You are gangsters. Excuse me. You are gangsters.
Guy that played all gangsters.
Yeah, ironic De Niro is using gangsters as an insult.
By the way,
You're
this guy
softy! You're a nobody! You're trash!
makes me so.
You're trash! You're done! You're done after this, my guy!
Oh, dude, this makes me so happy, bro. This makes me so happy that people are fed up with this shit. Oh, it makes me so happy.
Fuck you, De Niro!
Bro, that's unheard of. New Yorkers saying this to him?
That's what I'm saying. So
People are done.
And not for nothing, but Robert De Niro was also friends with Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, you can
did
stop
a music
it.
video
You can
with
stop
Diddy. So
Is it more,
A
Rob?
music video with Diddy?
no, that's good enough.
Yeah, well, guys, just as a fellow New Yorker, I think it's absolutely amazing that the people don't even want to hear his ass. Like, shut up. He's trying to tell the guy you're not being a gentleman. Look at all the crap that you talk and you're cussing about Trump and the dog, and it's like, bro, the guy has a family. You don't give a shit about him. Why would anybody care about you, bro? And it drives me crazy. Robert De Niro, the same guy whose grandson was poisoned with fentanyl because of Joe Biden's policy thing. You're talking shit about Trump? What the hell are you even talking about, you loser?
What level of owned by Hollywood do you have to be?
Bro, there needs to be. Oh, trust me. I think personally, Rob, and I'll let you finish. To me, seeing that, there's no way Robert De Niro, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe 100, maybe 200, is gonna get out of his uptown apartment, come down there and do this unless he was paid immensely,
absolutely,
or they have dirt on his ass,
or they're forcing him,
or they're
like if you want to be in a movie ever again, or you want to keep having your royalties and shit, then you.
When you sell your soul, that's your
people
price.
like De Niro, I can see the case for. Okay, maybe like there's financial incentives of, okay, you cut this campaign ad for Biden, which is what he just did. Like before this, they released an ad with him in it.
Yeah, you know how many times I've seen that in my feed? 0 times.
Yeah.
You know how many times I've seen, Andres, if you could show this graphic, the different imagery of like him yelling, "You are gangsters," De Niro clashes with pro-Trump protesters. I've seen more of the protests, more of people fighting back against this than I've actually seen the campaign ad. I haven't seen it once.
Me neither.
But you can tell with De Niro, he really believes it. So like, it's
he
not
does.
necessarily they're blackmailing him or anything. It's just they took an old angry man to go out and stump on behalf of an older, angrier man who's president.
Yeah.
And okay, just insult Trump, and people will buy it because you used to be famous and relevant 60 years ago.
But he's done this too. He did this back in the day too. He made a video during the 2016. He's like, he's a dog. He's a shut up.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of all
I'd
these
love
people.
to take him behind the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
Why
You're taking
does
shit.
anybody? And here's the thing. This is the whole reason I brought it up. Does anybody give a shit about what celebrities think?
I don't.
think Robert De Niro shares the common plight of the American man.
And I think even that, like, look at Netflix, look at Prime, and look at how media works now. Celebrities don't matter that much. You know, there's been a talk with, I think, with the Film Actors Guild where they're looking at, with these different shows now, just paying them based on how well their shows do.
Yeah.
Celebrities wouldn't exist anymore if that happened. They'd be regular people like us.
So is this just a way to stay relevant?
Yeah.
Because take a look. Like, let's go to this clip real quick. I like this is
Since The Irishman, what has he done?
this is
Nothing. And I hope nothing else. either.
Caroline Leavitt. She is Donald Trump's national press secretary. She came out to talk about the support that Trump is seeing in notoriously blue states, our home state of New Jersey, Wildwood, New Jersey, as well as the Bronx and New York with the rally last week. Andres, if you could play the clip.
That's why he pulls a crowd of more than 25,000 in the deep blue Bronx. That's why he pulls a crowd of more than 100,000 in deep blue New Jersey. Everywhere he goes, everyday Americans, not elitist, out-of-touch Hollywood actors like Robert De Niro, who have no idea the real problems that people in this city and across this country are facing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Agree
that.
100%. I don't think that these people can relate to us. So why do we give a shit who they're telling us to vote for? I love this next tweet. This girl annoys me more than anything.
She's from
on
the next
internet.
county over
Yeah.
from me.
You know how people get TDS syndrome? I got JoJo from Jers syndrome because I see
Yeah,
her
I
tweets
know.
and they're so moronic. I just want to bang my head against the wall. Here is her tweet yesterday. We have De Niro. They have Sorbo. By the way, JoJo from you're talking about Kevin Sorbo. That's Hercules. You watch your mouth. I love
Rob
Hercules.
loves that guy.
Yeah, this isn't even fucking close. Well, what's great about this, if we're gonna even play, and for me, I believe that the celebrity endorsement game is the retarded part of politics. It's politics for retards. That's what this is. It's people who can't understand politics, so they know that they like these people. They follow them on social media. They follow their lives, so they're gonna entrust their vote. Things that American soldiers have fought and died for to protect, they're going to entrust it with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson because I liked him when he was The Rock, and if you smell what The Rock is cooking. Like, people are that dumb that they actually act this way. How do I know? Because when I was an uninformed voter in 2004, Bruce Springsteen told me to go out and vote for John Kerry. I was 18 years old. I didn't pay attention. I fucking did it. I regret it. To this day, I was retarded. I'm a reformed retard. So that's why I'm saying, who gives a shit? If we're actually going to play this dumb game, take a look at all of the celebrities who are not endorsing Biden the first time and who have left. Okay, you're going to hang your hat on Robert De Niro. Amber Rose, not that that's anybody to celebrate, but this is a woman that, outed Kanye is like in fingers in his butt. Yeah. She is now voting for Donald Trump. We could go on. Cardi B. Okay, what
She drugs men and used to rob them, but
that's
whatever.
A huge problem.
Big
She
problem.
also interviewed the president of the United States. Joe Biden won't come on the PBD podcast. We've extended the invitation. Won't come on our podcast, but we'll sit down with Cardi B, who admitted on film that she drugged and stole from men and then released a song called Wet Ass Pussy. And that girl can get the president on her podcast, but we can't get him on ours.
Yeah,
But does he admire that because he might have done that in his own life?
Yeah, maybe.
But also, why does Cardi B have a podcast? Like, we need a complete shutdown on podcasts until we can figure out what the hell is going on, because there are too many podcasts.
There's a lot of
And
podcasts.
We have a podcast, but there need to be fewer podcasts out there. It's too easy to do it
They
now.
should all just watch this show instead.
Yes.
What I would like to point out is that this doesn't mean that all of these people are voting for Trump. This is the interesting part, Vinny. Okay, Amber Rose not endorsing Donald Trump. Cardi B will not vote for Joe Biden. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will not endorse Biden again. Macklemore criticized Biden in supporting anti-war protesters. Michael Rappaport, our friend now? Isn't that weird? Our friend who literally, he said, I had Trump derangement syndrome. He has now come around and gone, this shit's messed up. I don't want... Okay, so those are all people who were staunch supporters of Joe Biden in 2020. They have turned their back. But what's more interesting is not where these people are going. It's the celebrities who are voicing support for RFK Jr. RFK Jr. has Jenny McCarthy, Donnie Wahlberg, all of these people. Let me go through. I have the entire list.
You could
let's
say
see.
RFK has the right stuff.
Well,
Yeah, hell.
so he's got Rob Schneider, Pierce Brosnan. I mean, the list of people that have left the Democratic Party supporting Joe Biden in 2020 and now looking to support RFK and other people looking to support Donald Trump shows that Joe Biden has no support. The people who were Democrats are now going, I'd rather support an independent candidate who has a very long shot of winning. We could go through the numbers. It doesn't matter. RFK is saying he's inching closer towards qualifying for the debates. It's still yet to be seen. But if these celebrities are actually using their power to try and endorse a candidate, they're not endorsing the main candidate of the Democratic Party. They're endorsing an independent or, in the weirdest of turns, Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think that's going to hurt Trump. And I say that because I think, the Democrats aren't panicking. I'm not seeing any panic. I know a Politico came out saying, oh my God, like at the end of the world, they're what was the headline for Politico about Biden? They're freaking out. They're freaking out about what's happening. Bro, they're going to supplement that with all the illegals that are in this country. Mark my freaking words.
Dems in full-blown freak out over Biden one day ago from Politico.
Freak out. They're freaking out. Guys, they're not freaking out. The Dems are not freaking out because they're going to get the illegals that are here without the voting, without the ID, without the U.S. citizenship. That's the supplement. But the only thing I'll disagree with the celebrity status of who cares, this is their golden goose unicorn, Taylor Swift. They've been holding on to her, that witch on stage. If she comes out in 2-3 months and goes, hi, Swifties, how many are there? How many Swifties are out there?
Oh, I could just tell you how many Instagram followers.
Tell me how many Instagram followers she has.
Swift.
If you think about it, Jeremy, this girl, my niece,
284 million people.
284 million. Okay.
Not all of those are
cookies
American,
last time,
by the way.
She baked cookies?
Yeah, with Biden logos on them.
Oh, yeah. I remember. So if that girl goes up and says, guys, with the Robert De Niro attitude, guys, he's gonna kill us. He's Hitler.
I really think she will.
She's going to.
Yeah.
The hell you mean? What they gave
Why
her
hasn't she yet?
Because they're waiting for it to be the October.
They need her. She's the go-to unicorn.
I guess you're right, because you know what? If she goes out now and she says it, people start. Well, they start.
Haters.
Okay, it'll blow over.
They don't go to her tours.
And then what if people start doing their research? Like for me, it comes down to, okay, is my life better now or was it better 4 years ago? Because both of those are the candidates that I'm voting for. And then you go, well, my life was better 4 years ago. Well, let's take a look at why it was better 4 years ago. And are those issues that Joe Biden could have done something to fix? Or are these issues that he has offered no solution for, he's made worse, and Donald Trump may be the better option to fix? And then I vote on that. I don't vote because Taylor Swift goes, hey, everybody, I'm here with Travis Kelce. He's plowing my back end, and I think you guys should vote.
Yeah.
He's in my end zone,
Yeah.
and I think you should vote for Joe Biden.
That's Rob now, but what about 18-year-old Rob?
Dumb, stupid, idiot, fuckface.
Exactly, Rob.
So if you're 18 out there, don't be a dumb, stupid, idiot, fuckface and read policy, and maybe you won't end up in this position where we get idiots in office like you talked about before. What idiocy rises to the top somehow?
Peter principle. People
Peter
get to
principle.
one level above where they're qualified to be.
I can think of one other certain celebrity that voted for Biden and then has now aggressively come out against him. Comedian Rob Gargiulo, who cast a vote
celebrity.
for Biden. Well, you're
technically are a celebrity in the valuetainment world and in
celebrity
stand-up
enough.
comedy. People know you.
Exactly.
I was trying not to mention that.
So Jeremy, just in closing, I mean, are you voting?
I had to show this chance to change.
Are you sitting this one out? Who are you voting for? What's your?
I voted for Trump the first time. I voted for Trump the second time, and I'll vote for him a third time.
I love
And
that.
will you vote for him a fourth time? Because according to them, that's coming.
No, it's not happening.
12 more years.
He's
12 more years.
Because he stepped down. Like he did. He looked at the process and he said, "This is the process," and he stepped down. So it makes De Niro out to be a liar.
Who do you think should be his candidate for vice president? Vivek. Okay.
Oh, that'd be such a good one. I don't think it's going to be Tulsi. I think it's going to be Vivek. Oh, Tim Scott is just.
They keep putting Elise Stefanik out there every day.
Yeah, and I mean, she's
secret insider.
She was in Israel a while ago saying, whatever the hell Israel wants, they get.
I think in the next few months he's about to give Nikki Haley a cabinet position.
I will listen. Let me. Oh, you mean the same bitch that just put finished them on bombs that are going to Rafah that are killing more innocents?
I don't know, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, something like that. Like, He's gonna put her in there somewhere.
I will lose my shit, bro.
Just look at where money comes from. Boeing, Lockheed, companies like that. It'll give you a good idea.
All right, guys. That was a great show, Jeremy. Thank you so much for being here, brother. Anybody from Jersey and talking about, I guess what people at home are probably like, dude, I had no idea. You guys didn't know you were about to get roamed, but you guys got roamed. Shane, Connor, Rob, Andres.
Thought about Rome a lot today.
I love you guys, guys. If you haven't subscribed already to the channel, please subscribe. That's the link right there. It's right there. Hit the notification bell. Are we going to have another show on Friday? I don't know yet. I don't know because, by the way, we have a live event Friday.
So probably not.
Dave Smith, Chris Cuomo. It's going to be on VT's main or PBD Podcast?
PBD Podcast. And I apologize for the profanities. My wife just texted me and said, don't curse too much on the podcast.
Too late.
I blew that out of the water.
Too late for that.
Sorry for the offensive language.
But guys, don't be afraid to call out when bullshit is bullshit and atrocities on any side. Don't let anybody scare you into speaking your freaking mind. It doesn't make you a bad person. It means you have a heart, okay? Love each other, guys. Take care of each other, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.